At Your Instep is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello, and welcome to At Your Instep. My name is Morgan. I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And Dave. Hey. We have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. We're on the verge of having all of Amonkhet, but not yet. Not till this Friday, unfortunately. But we still have plenty of cards to talk about, as well as some of the mechanics that we're going to kind of do a deep dive in this week. So we definitely wanted to start with that. And, talk about a couple of cards, maybe talk about the story a little bit as well, since we haven't really had a Vorthos visit, as it were. And then talk a little bit about some of the tournaments that happened over the weekend. They both really aren't our cup of tea, which is kind of awkward, but hey, we'll suffer through. We'll figure it out. We'll try to bring some relevance to the conversation about Team Limited and Legacy. Because we're experts over here. No, not at all. So, and then we'll kind of end the show with what we usually talk about, and we do again kind of a deep dive into the mechanics that we're going to kind of finish up with everything. So, let's go ahead and talk about the community subjects. So we do have some more spoilers. Just kind of a recap: we have all 5 gods, we have all 3 planeswalkers that are sort of the big powerhouse mythics that are going to get a lot of eyes on the set. So we have all 5 of the gods now, which is great. They vary in range of playability for sure. And they all are either 3 or 4 mana. So it's nice to see some sort of variation between CMCs with these guys and gals, as it were. What do you guys think about them now that we have the whole set?
I feel like I don't know. Individual ones strike me as playable or good, but I feel like they sort of, after reading all the articles where Rosewater sort of broke down how hard it was for them to go back and redesign gods, it seems weird that we really got 2 repeats. And maybe that sounds unfair.
2 repeats?
I feel like Ronus and is it a Ketra?
Yeah, Oketra.
Yeah,
Oketra, whatever.
How are those very different from
The
our
original
Theros gods?
Theros gods.
Oketra says that it cannot attack or block unless you control at least 3 other creatures. It has double strike and indestructible. It's a 3/6 for 4 mana. And it also has the Rider for a 3 generic and a white, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. That sounds a lot like Heliod to me. Whereas before you needed devotion to turn on Heliod, now you need more creatures, which also sounds like devotion.
Yeah.
But so that one feels close to Heliod and feels like I don't know. I don't know if it doesn't seem very exciting to me. Ronus the Indomitable, I think, is a good one. That is the green one. And it's a 5/5 for green and 2 generic that has Death Touch and Indestructible. I was trying to combine those words. Why a 5/5 indestructible creature needs Death Touch? I could not tell you.
For the same reason that Gravetite needs Death Touch.
I guess, we got to make sure it feels this color, I guess. He deals in poisons, don't you understand? But it says it can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. That feels green. And then it has this ability for a green and 2 colorless. Another target creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample in a turn. Before we had Nylea, and Nylea gave other creatures +2/+2 and trample. Couldn't target herself. So those feel like retreads with just a little bit of shift on numbers. Ronus being 3 mana versus 4 is great. But it just seems weird that these are supposed to be the big unique things on this plane. It's 2 of them literally just you could call this Heliod Nylea, and I would not really feel there was much of a difference. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how they feel to me.
Yeah, I mean they are similar, but I think these will end up playing a lot differently than the Theros ones. So I don't know. I think as a set, I'm kind of happy with the power level that they put them at. They're not obviously super busted, but I think in the right deck that they can all be pretty good. They seem like they're all playable, but you got to do a little bit of work.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And your mileage may vary with the amount of work that you actually have to do to get these gods a going, as it were.
Yeah, Kefnet, the blue one, seems like the hardest to use just because you need to have a full hand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But also, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of what you want to be doing in blue anyway. So.
Right. It also seems like one of the ones that's more capable of like ending the game rather quickly once you have it enabled. A 5/5 flyer that's indestructible is pretty good.
I think Bantu's probably the best one, though, if I had to guess.
See, a lot of people are saying like Bantu's like the worst one.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Bantu.
I think people are underestimating that.
I think so as well.
You still have a lot of things that make Eldrazi tokens.
Yeah,
in this
Scion's
format.
exactly where I thought about this. Like, we had this deck that's the Black Green Aristocrats deck we saw the Collected Company. Most of those cards are still in Standard.
Yep.
And like this gives another way to, yes, it costs mana, but there's another way to drain. It works really well as a little poor cutthroat, and it's pretty great with Scions. So I don't know.
I think the only thing for me is like you have to literally sacrifice board position to turn this into a creature, and like with those decks, like sure you have a lot of tokens and stuff like that, but you're not always going to want to sacrifice token. Like you know what I mean? Like you'll have these situations where you're going to be kind of put in a squeeze. So I don't know. It seems like some of the other ones are a lot easier to use effectively. Like Ronus seems like if you're playing that with Heart of Kirin or something.
I agree with that. I just like I don't know. I think Bantu like turns on an archetype. Like it doesn't. You don't have to sacrifice it to its ability for it to turn on. So like you just like use a Scion for mana to cast a thing and use, or just like sack like a Blister Pod or something like that.
Sure.
Like it doesn't feel like much of a cost. To get to, I mean, it's being 3 mana. Like if this was 4 mana, I would think I would be much more inclined to agree with you. But I think this curves well into things you want to do with that deck, especially when we still have, like even like Duskwatch Recruiter still in the format. So you can use those Science to hit your Recruiter to cast your spells. You could still play Cryptolithrite. Like that excites me. So now maybe you're right. Maybe Ronus is just the one you're playing with that then because you just want to use all the mana from Cryptolithrite to like pump a guy to get in. But I don't know.
Well, not even. I was just saying Ronus with like Heart of Kirin. It's just like,
sure.
A lot of decks are just going to be playing Heart of Kirin anyway, and just like okay, accrue my Heart of Kirin, turn on Ronus.
That is certainly fair.
Let's go.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's certainly fair. I don't know. I think they're all interesting. I do not know how much play they will see. I hope they do see play. I really do. But I feel like I don't know. I was expecting maybe more out of these designs. Like God is like such a splashy creature type and such a huge idea that like to feel so like okay about these, like I don't know.
I think they can't be the best thing in this block because we know who's looming. Like you know what I mean?
Totally
like they
that's
can't
totally
make the
fair.
gods better.
But like a
than
god
Nicol
is
Bolas.
a creature, a planeswalker is Bolas is a planeswalker. So like I think there's I don't know. I guess like I want these to feel like Titans because I don't feel like any god has felt as good as a Titan, and that doesn't make sense flavor-wise to me. But at the same time, I don't think I want more Titans in the format when we already have like Gear Hulks. So like, I don't know what I want.
No,
I don't know what I want, Wizards, but give me something.
Yeah,
says every Magic player.
Yeah.
Again, I actually like the power level that these are at. Like they actually make you think a little bit. Like, okay, how can I best use this? It's not just like Gideon allies in the car. When that card was spoiled, we were all just like, okay, this card is just the best card. Set,
I agree with
obviously.
that.
You know
I
what
agree
mean?
with that. These are not as obviously powerful, but I also think that the way because you have like Gideon, like tell me what deck in the world is going to run Oketra instead of Gideon.
No one.
And you're not going to run 8 4-drops more than likely, with including Oketras. So it just feels like a couple of these are just going to get shrugged at and not see play, and that makes me sad. Like I felt like even in Theros, even like you mentioned before that even Heliod did see some like get in there, pal kind of play during when you had Nykthos running around, and like the format doesn't seem like. For some of these, it seems like they're pushed. Like Hazoret at least feels synergistic to me for the type of red deck they want you to build. Bantu feels synergistic for the kind of deck you could build. Ronus is just synergistic with green decks.
Yeah, Ronus is definitely like it feels like the pushed one.
Yeah, but like Oketra, you could say like, oh well, White wants to make tokens. Like, didn't you see parallel lives? I know that's not what it's called.
The color shifted parallel lives.
But like,
did you see Gideon allies in the car? Oh no, wait, why?
exactly,
oh no, what did we do?
Ugh, I don't know. I like them, but I'm still sort of hesitant on like understanding how much play they'll see. But I hope they do see a bunch.
To be fair, I think there are a lot of cards in this set that are hard to evaluate.
Yeah, they're hard to evaluate just for the sheer fact of where the format currently stands. We're at in Standard.
Well, yeah, True, I agree with that, but also like just some of the designs of the cards are things that we've never seen before. So like the split cards, for example. Do you want to just roll into that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we did get more of the split cards, and they are just, whew, man. So Dave, if I staple two commons together, what would you call that?
A mythic rare.
Yeah, it's, probably an uncommon.
Okay, no, they're all rares.
Yeah.
So if you really like your cards to give you two common effects that you could likely not cast when you want them to be cast, man, Aftermath cards, they are the cards for you. Hey, you remember how much play Ruinous Path like gets nowadays? You know, it's so good.
You know, the sorcery speed Hero's Downfall?
Correct.
Oh.
How would you like another one that after you cast it, you can pay for, you can play a black and 3 generic and exile a card at sorcery speed from an opponent's graveyard or a graveyard?
Like it's a graveyard.
Target card from a graveyard.
A graveyard and get a 2/2 zombie.
Wow.
Yeah. How about that? That's a rare with a common staple to the end of it. Yeah. It's just, it blows my mind how underwhelming these cards are. And maybe like in development, they had different effects or different like casting speeds for these, and they were too good, and then they had to like rethink the entire thing. But man,
I'll throw this out. Now, part of me wants to look at these kind of the same way I look at like charm cards. Like they've printed a lot of charm cycles over the years, right? You look at something like a card like Is It Charm, for example, right? All three abilities on Is It Charm by themselves are not very impressive. But when you staple them all into one card, that versatility is what makes the card good.
But these don't have that versatility.
Right.
Like they don't have anywhere near that versatility. It's one thing at a time, and only like you have to do work if you want the other. Like, oh well, it's not like Is It Charm was like, okay, well, countering is very good here, or killing a creature is very good here. This is like, well, I kind of want to draw a card for all these green creatures, but I have to make a hippo first and spend my mana doing that.
Yeah.
So then I'll get the option.
Yeah, part of me, like when I look at the cards, when I'm trying to evaluate the cards, I'm looking at it like that. Well, okay, so we do each of these individually, and most of them work well when you do them in the order that they're printed. But another part of me is like, well, maybe we're underestimating the fact that you can cast, like, you don't have to actually cast the card first. You could discard it to an effect. You can mill it into your graveyard, and then it's almost like drawing extra cards. Now, I don't know how many of these effects you would want to play out of the graveyard, but I think they might be a little better than they look on paper, but this still might not be good enough.
I will say, I think there's one that out of all these, there's one that has a chance, and I think it's Cut to Ribbons.
yes,
Cut to Ribbons is the one that feels like, yes, you may want to incidentally mill this card. Cut to Ribbons is the red-black one. Cut is a generic and a red for a sorcery, deal 4 damage to a creature. So you got a Mizzy Mortars effect, like that's fine. And then the Ribbons is black X sorcery. Each opponent loses X life. So this is the kind of card that if you had a Grixis base or some sort of black-red control deck that could have X colors, you could use Cut early when you need to, and then you sort of forget about Ribbons until you need to just kill your opponent. So that is the only one to me that feels like what you're describing, Dave, where it's like, oh yeah, you just tuck this in the graveyard for later, and then you get some value. The rest of them are like, why?
Even if you're playing like a black-red, like even aggressive deck, like you may want access to one of these or something like that.
Like Cut is not the worst removal spell that you have played in a standard format, even a higher powered standard format that we're playing right now. And there's plenty of creatures in this format, Felidar Guardian, that really could use another 4 damage removal spell. Yes, so you wish it was an instant, but that's the one that like I could look at this one and say, I get why this is a rare. I get it. You don't want Sanguate tacked onto another card showing up all the time. But the rest of these, like the mana cost is so prohibitive to even doing them in the same turn that like we want to argue they're synergistic, but then you just can't do it. Even though the one we're sort of joking about, you mentioned Prepare to Fight, which is the one that tackles like Moment of Heroism, which is the +2/+2 lifelink with Prey Upon 4 mana Prey Upon. So
Correct.
it's Hunt the Weak without the counter. Like, you have to spend 6 mana to cast that in the same turn to make it synergistic. Oh, and Fight's a sorcery because they're all sorceries on the backside. So you can't even use it as a combat trick, which is what... Like, Dramoka's command costs 2 mana to do this. This costs 6 and has to be a sorcery. Now, I'm not saying I want Dramoka's command back, but there is a middle ground here we're failing to find.
Yeah, it feels like something must have happened in the development of these cards that changed them to be this.
Yeah, I guarantee
it
you
was. We
underwhelming.
still don't want to print real graveyard removal, so now we can't let our graveyard-centric cards be too good. It's why Embalm costs 9 mana every time you try to use it, and why these cost infinite mana. We don't want to print graveyard hate, so we'll just make the graveyard cards worse, so not having hate for it doesn't feel as bad. That's my awful theory, and I feel good about it.
I don't want to be too negative on these because we haven't played with them
No,
yet.
I'm done. We've opened the
Man.
can, and I don't know if I don't let it out now, then I'll lose all my fizziness.
I'm trying to keep it positive until I'm ultimately disappointed when we're 3 weeks into standard.
Can I
and
be
we still
positive
have-
for negativity? I like a lot of things about the set. I think these cards are a miss, but I guess we're going to talk about mechanics a little bit later. So
That's
I'll
true.
stop harping on Aftermath.
Also, they're still super ugly. So thanks, Wizards.
I actually don't mind them.
Oh no, they're god awful.
I mean, I understand why you think that way, but it actually kind of makes sense when you can put them in the graveyard sideways.
I know. I like the way you can set them in the graveyard. It doesn't
I
stop
will.
the card from
I
being
will never
awful
set
to
them
look
in
at.
the graveyard sideways because that's how I represent my cards that are exiled in a separate pile, but also sideways. So no,
I don't think most competitive players will do that either, because you tend to not want to show your opponents a easy reminder of the things
Correct.
that you could cast. Now, granted, sometimes when you have a flashback card in the graveyard, you really do need to make sure you can see all of them, or else you'll forget to cast Ancient Grudge so you don't lose a match.
I'm glad you brought it up.
When did you see that coming? Tell me honestly. Like when? Because I didn't see it.
When
like,
did you see the headlights?
Oh, it was too late. He got hit. Oh no!
Yeah,
Oh, no.
I'm already dead.
Oh no! All right, we have talked about the gods and the the split cards. Let's talk about the planeswalkers. So that we can kind of get those out there. They're all revealed and everything like that, and some of them are pretty exciting or might be getting overblown. And we haven't talked about any of them, right?
No, like Gideon. I looked it up. So Gideon was spoiled the day after we recorded
Oh, I
last
guess
week.
no.
So we haven't actually talked about
So
any.
we are going to go over all these cards again next week in our Palooza.
Yeah,
do you
so
want
let's
to?
just- no,
do you
like-
want to just pick one to talk about? Like
Let's talk about Nissa.
Okay,
If we're gonna pick one, because the other two, like Liliana Death's Majesty, don't get me wrong, is I think a very good Magic card. I don't want to talk about a Gideon ever again.
never Gideon.
If Gideon could just get the Elspeth treatment in this block, I'd be really happy
Wow.
with it. Like Gideon,
Wow.
just like I'm fighting in the trials.
I think Mike
and then-
just said, "I hope you die."
Well, I hope he goes to the underworld. But Elspeth technically isn't dead. She's just like hammering her mask in the underworld, technically. But like whatever, he goes and visits Bantu for a while. That's fine. We don't need him.
well, if he
I don't think
died,
Bantu's the same as.
So if he
Erebos.
dies-
He's not the same as
He's not
Erebos. I don't
Erebos.
care.
so wouldn't if he died on this plane?
Yes,
that
he'd get embalmed.
He'd be embalmed. He'd be a mummy.
It'd be Gideon Mummy. Gideon Mummy Man. And you know what? If we got Gideon
there's-
Mummy Man, I would take that Gideon back.
There is a new The Mummy movie coming out.
That's
as
true.
well.
It could be synergistic with
Starring
Universal's
Gideon Jura.
pictures.
All I can think of is the Mummy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Just demands things like Gideon, what you want. Ah, Gatewatch.
All right. So Nissa, Steward of Elements. It costs blue, green, X for a X loyalty planeswalker. It has a +2 ability. It says Scry 2. It has a 0 ability that says look at the top card of your library. If it's on Mythic Spoiler, it says I fits, which isn't accurate.
Just read the card, man.
If it's a land card or a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on Nissa, you may put that card into the battlefield.
Into.
Into the
Straight
battlefield.
Just, right into the table.
Onto. And then you can -6 and untap 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5 elemental creatures with flying and haste until the end of turn. They are still lands. So, a scalable planeswalker.
Yeah, she got her own Skyrider elf.
Yeah.
Like, she got her own little manta, and she's flying around on X, like X on X on X on X on X. And I don't know. I think this Planeswalker is a really interesting design. You can still cast this Nissa on 3, which is sort of becoming a hallmark for Nissa, apparently.
Yeah.
And just tick it up and go to 3 loyalty. And Scry 2 is pretty powerful. Like, when you start, like, if you go back to, like, Frank Carson and doing his math, like, scrying is, like, 0.2 of, like, drawing a card, or 0.2 of a land drop. So, like, Scry 2, you're, like, halfway to drawing a card, which is, I guess, okay.
Yeah.
The 0 is powerful, especially if you have a deck that's mostly permanents. Obviously, mana cost is going to be important here. The thing I think I like the most about this is that the way the ultimate is set up, you can draw this as a late game. Like, this is a win condition off the top. You can just take 10 flying. And I think I like that. Like, maybe not. Maybe after I die to, like, 10 power worth of flying elementals for the 18th time, I won't. But I think I like the fact that, like, this leads to, like, you can play this on turn 3 and it'd be pretty good, or it can just be your win condition. And that's a little bit like we've criticized a lot of the Planeswalkers for having similar designs or being, like, overtly powerful, and this one feels like it's got a good power level. It really isn't doing very much unless it has high loyalty, and it can just win the game. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Early game, you still have to, working. You have still to work on, like, protecting it potentially.
Yeah, for sure. But even then, like, the worst case scenario is in your blue-green deck that ostensibly wants to ramp a little bit. You scry 2, so you can make sure you're going to hit your land drop or whatever you want to hit next, and then they have to spend a turn trying to kill it. So, like,
pseudo fog.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think it's more interesting when you remember. Did you know that? I think we mentioned this before, but we still have a oh gosh, I forgot her name now because you did the Did you know that? We still have another blue-green planeswalker in the format.
Kiora.
Yeah, we still have a Kiora in the format. A Kiora that actively helps you ramp into this card. Now you know.
Now you know.
Which I think has been forgotten about for a while. Like,
yeah, I mean, this is the best Kiora they've ever printed.
Well, if you combine this and the Gideon, you have a great Kiora. Oh man, like this one makes your things not do damage. Oh, that feels like Kiora. Oh, this one does. Okay, yeah, whatever.
Do you think Kiora is like the jealous type?
Yeah, actually, yes.
She's like totally just stealing my spot.
I can
right
prove
now,
that she's a jealous type.
Yeah.
She stole Thassa's Bident for fun.
All right. Well,
like she's like, oh, you're a god. I'm going to take this. This is mine now.
Hey, Nissa, keep your head in a swivel. Kiora's coming.
Well, she's been humbled a bit though because she got crushed by the Eldrazi. No one listened to her.
What? Don't ruin the fun. All right.
This happened a couple blocks ago now.
I don't keep up with the story, man.
Well, neither does Kiora.
Just humor me a little bit.
She didn't join the Gatewatch for a reason.
Okay.
That reason.
Well, now they can never go back to Zendikar because it's like
there's a place on Zendikar where there's not water, and Kiora is like the Aquaman of that. Where it's like all right, trees, dolphins, go. What do you mean you don't do trees? Come on, guys, you make me look foolish in front of my friends. We talked about this.
Yeah, this card's definitely interesting. I mean, we'll have to see how the rest of the format shakes out. You do have a deck that can technically play this in like the 4-color Saheeli list. I don't think that is a thing that you do necessarily, but
the combo is made of permanents, so you could just zero. Oh look,
how about that,
Guardian? But I will say, Felidar Guardian with this Planeswalker not going to work. Not going to work out so well.
Don't do that.
I do want to say I hate the fact that they made Nissa blue though.
I did see like people on Twitter posting like snippets of her like trying to be more into like understanding and that sort of thing. So I think
but
they've sloppily written it into the story of how like she could be.
Well, her and Jace can talk good, so she must be blue good now.
Sure.
I don't know. That's how we talk about it.
I don't know. I've given up on trying to like them try Planeswalker.
Well, this is what happens when you make everything have to be the Gatewatch.
Yes.
I'm glad Morrow has said that they are not doing that as much for the night. They've started shifting away from that in the next block, which is nice because it's just like, well, we really want a blue-green Planeswalker. I mean, this has never really felt blue, but here she is.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's like when they made Sarkhan blue. Do you remember they made
cards?
Do you remember they made Sarkhan blue?
Yeah, but that's because he hung out with like with the Teamer clan.
I guess that's it. They did it.
He like came back from time and was like, "Oh man, I'm really wiped out." And the people in
they were like, "Drink these weird drops of water that give you blue mana."
Yeah. He's still all about dragons, so
Yeah, a lot of blue dragons.
There's some.
There's some. They kind of phase in and out of.
I mean,
sets.
We have drakes though, right?
Those are not dragons. Do not really,
They're close.
really.
They're not. I know they're not dragons, but they're close.
And that was offensive.
To who? The dragons?
I think to drakes as well.
Sure. Drakes wish they could be dragons.
Wow.
Let's be real here.
Wow.
They wish they could be. Because they got to have like, the 4 arms.
Are they like second class dragons? They're like
No, they just wish they could.
Okay, so like, does an osprey wish it was a falcon?
I don't know. Ospreys don't talk though, but dragons do.
No. Who says a drake can't? I've even heard a drake sing. I've seen him be on TV.
You done did it.
I was waiting for that.
Hey, when he was on TV, he didn't have a good time though. He done got shot in Degrassi.
I didn't know that. You really did?
Yeah, he's paralyzed. He gets paralyzed in Degrassi.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
Man, he can't do his.
He was a basketball star, and there was a very serious episode of Degrassi, and he got shot. So, did you know that?
Dragons are larger than drakes, but smaller than wyverns. Dragons have a longer body and throat than drakes. Wyverns are 4-limbed creatures, 1 pair of legs and 1 pair of wings. Drakes are 6-limbed creatures, just like the dragon, with 1 pair of wings and 2 pair of legs.
Oh, see, so the Wizard is actually misrepresenting drakes in their artwork, right? Because the drakes that are on Drakehaven, the next card we're trying to talk about, they don't have whatchamacallit, rest of their bodies.
Drakes are sometimes used to refer to immature dragons, but are more frequently associated with much smaller reptilian animals that are mostly just scaled-down versions of regular dragons. Depending on the source, they may or may not be intelligent, so they can talk at times, and may or may not have the ability to breathe fire. Typically, they are large reptiles that can fly and have a generally dragon-like appearance. Man, even this description is like just offensive. They don't have a dragon-like appearance. They look like drakes. Why you gotta be like this?
And drakes look like dragons.
Okay, you know what? And they all look like birds. They did it. They're just stealing from pterodactyls now.
Oh man,
Simpsons did it.
Anyway, so Drakehaven, and the drakes are accurately represented. They have they have 6 appendages on this artwork. But this is a card that's got you like hyped to the max.
We talked about it a little bit last week, and I declared it the best card in the set. And having seen all of the gods, all of the planeswalkers, I am still ready to declare it is the best card in the set. And I don't care if you agree with me or not, because it's going to be my bay.
It's like you don't have to agree. You're just wrong.
Me?
No,
Or
anybody who disagrees.
Oh, right, yes. If you come to me and try to say, actually, I think this is the best card, I'm going to just walk away. I was like, oh, no, sorry, I didn't. Just zoned out there.
Just didn't hear you at all.
Not a conversation. I went to
Weird.
Drake Heaven, not Dragon Heaven. Do you see the difference?
It's definitely a
Dragons are bigger.
No, it's heaven. It's Drake
It's a
Heaven.
haven.
It's Drake Heaven.
Haven.
It's a heaven.
Haven.
It's heaven.
It's a heaven. It's for me. It's a heaven for me.
Okay.
Cool. So that's about it for Amonkhet spoilers until next week, where we could have our Palooza. But let's talk about the story a little bit. So we've kind of had a few little story tidbits from Amonkhet, and I know Mike, you're that's one of your preferred parts of the game, favorite parts of the game,
I don't
liked
know.
parts of the game.
I hate it a lot. So like,
Fair enough. You're critical on it.
Yes, I enjoy being critical of it. So there you go.
There you go. So fill us in. Tell us about what's going on in this story. What makes it intriguing? So potential spoiler warnings if you haven't read any of the story portions of Amonkhet. Mike, is anyone really missing anything? Should you go read these?
I think today's was the better one. The other two were kind of average.
All right.
So this one started with a young Nissa Skywalker waking up in the morning and seeing the 2 sons of Tatooine.
And she went in. She had a big glass of blue milk.
No, she did have a mummy bring her a cup for water.
Oh,
So like it was close.
oh yeah,
I think that mummy's name was Aunt Beru. Anyways,
I saw their bodies. They weren't making mummies out of them.
just Skeletors.
You're not saving anything with gauze for those poor
so
souls.
they got to Amonkhet. They ended up planeswalking in the middle of a desert where they were promptly attacked by many zombies, and Liliana got eaten by a sandworm for a little while. So it was like Beetlejuice 2. Then Michael Keaton saved them, and they made it to this like bubble city, which is the Biodome featuring Pauly Shore.
Brendan Fraser. That's a good one.
This is quite the tale.
Also related to Mummy. I see. We're
there you go.
the pieces. This is just Amonkhet's just a Brendan Fraser vehicle. I see now.
I do think there's at least one monkey bone on Amonkhet as well.
Yeah, they have monkeys. Yeah, this makes sense.
Anyways, though, so like when they get there, like essentially what they have found out is like mummies exist to do all of the work. Like they serve people, they make the food, and like everything is really clean and pristine. The gods walk around among them. Gideon's all like stoked because the gods are walking around them, because apparently he saw one god, Oketra, and was like, these ones are different. It's like, yeah, just because like one god isn't a jerk like Heliod, or Erebos that killed everybody, doesn't mean that like they're all good. But Nissa was like trying to communicate with the plane, and this is where it got kind of interesting, because Johnny and Liliana both sort of implied that Bolas made Amonkhet, much like Karn had made Mirrodin and the Planeswalkers just to make planes. Nissa sort of finds out that like much like Zendikar had a soul, which was Ashaya, if you remember, to the flip Nissa.
Yep.
This one has a soul as well, and it's like in pain, it's dying. All of these zombies that are everywhere and these mummies should not be working in service. Like the whole point of like it was like what our ancient Egyptians were like. It was supposed to protect the bodies, and essentially it finds out like if they go and look at all these like these horn etchings that are everywhere, because Bolas is the god pharaoh. They're all new. Like the other etchings are ancient, and then all of the like horns are like hastily like etched in after the fact. And like Nissa actively gets to talk to Oketra, the god, and it's like, so what happened before? And Oketra's like, I don't know. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, I don't remember. And she's like, well, like, what? Remember what? And she's like, the before. I don't know. And apparently it's implied there were 8 gods, not 5, and 3 of them are gone. So they sort of pieced together that like Bolas came to this plane roughly 40 or 50 years ago. Liked the ideals they were doing, savagely altered the plane. Like no one in this city they're in is older than like 30. Like there are no older people at all, and they're all like rigidly training for these trials, which is why you have the trials and the cartouches, to like prove their worthiness. But it seems like what you end up having again here is pretty much like we've had every time with Bolas. Is Bolas sees something on a plane that might give him power, much like he did with the Maelstrom, with Alara, and he's sort of manipulating it to get something out of it. But they said that Bolas is not there, and everyone was like kind of upset. They're like, oh, well, he's not here. And they're like, yeah, he hasn't been here for, they say, like hundreds of years. But of course, like they sort of find out it's been like 40 or 50 years. So no one knows what's actually going on. These people have been, like their entire culture has been altered. And it's kind of, I don't know, I really liked it from a writing stance, because this is the idea that people toy around with all the time. There's a Futurama episode about this where Bender has like a meteorite hit him that has little people on it, and he essentially becomes God for these people, and like how time passes and what he does, and this sort of idea of like what can a planeswalker do. And like Nissa is like sickened by it. She's actively sickened. She's like, you should not manipulate this way. This is what we're supposed to do. And so it's kind of like it's the same thing with like the time traveler motif, right? You don't go back and you play with these things, but he has, and he's supposed to be back in 2 days as of the article today. And Dave actually showed that the articles they've been releasing the last few weeks, the sun has been moving in the background to the horns, and his arrival coincides with the sun lining up directly in the middle of the Bolas horns. So they're like, oh, like he hasn't been here for 100 years, but he's returning soon. And so supposedly in 2 days we're going to see the hour devastation. Get it?
Yeah, and they they have the like the hour. I think As Foretold talks about or something else talks about the
hours. Yes,
and
the hours.
The hour of devastation definitely not listed in the hours that they have. Which not surprising, I guess. I guess you wouldn't want to highlight that one. Less exciting.
Not to make this sound sad, but the hours concept though definitely goes back to a Lovecraftian concept, right? Which is like when the elder gods come, like you want to be the first in that window when they first come, the first to sacrifice yourself or to be destroyed, so you suffer less. So there's that. But yeah, everything's like super positive. Like everyone like loves what's happening on this plane. But then like Nissa sort of figures out that it's all like a Stepford Wives sort of scenario, which is like the God Pharaoh is coming back and he hasn't been here for hundreds of years, and it's like no, Daddy was home like yesterday. You just forgot. Like that's so I don't know. Kind of like I was sort of like off of it with the first 2 stories. Like Gideon being excited about the gods on this plane does nothing for me, just because of how poorly Theros was done. His backstory was sort of like thrown at us. Like, oh, he made Erebos mad because of his hubris, so now he has guilt. but Oketra will cure his guilt. I don't know how. Oketra's not going to bring his friends back, so...
No, his friends are still super duper dead.
And a lot of flavor text has told us that Gideon's going to find out these gods are just as bad.
Yeah.
So, but I think they're bad. Like, they're bad in a different way. They've been manipulated. So, I think it's kind of cool because like if Bolas is this master evil, like the Eldrazi were awful, but they weren't of a mind. You know what I mean? Like they tried to make it seem like Emrakul was like with the little game she played with Jace, but for the most part they didn't have like. But Bolas is calculating. He is ancient and smart. He should like they should like walk onto this plane and be like, we don't know what's going on, and it should be like exactly. Like you should not be able to fathom what he is doing, and that's cool. So.
Yeah, having Bolas back as the main baddie is real. It's a real blast from the past as well. So another Brendan,
well done.
another Brendan Fraser.
Well done.
Yoann, we're gonna like
Can we
come
work
through
an
this.
Airheads reference in here somewhere? Like,
I mean, like I'm
don't
sure
know
the
how.
drum solo that we played upon a Bolas's return would be great. What I really hope though is that we haven't seen it yet, but in ancient Egyptian culture, we tend to have Jinn, right? So we could get some wishes on this, and then we could just get bedazzled.
That's a bit of a stretch, but all right.
I was gonna say when they do the drum solo, is that gonna be like, is that whole thing gonna be lip synced, or are they gonna like, they're not gonna want to do that?
I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I don't think we could find a way to get George of the Jungle.
Or Dudley Do-Right or anything like that. I don't think so.
Does he have other movies beyond that? He was in Scrubs.
We've named a lot.
He could
yeah.
die, and then it could just be like his character from Scrubs. So there you
I
go.
guess that's true.
I made myself sad.
Oh, good job.
That was sad.
We'll be back next week with more ways
Sad
that
Brendan
Amonkhet is
Fraser
all about
stories.
Brendan Fraser. But awesome. That's definitely good to see like kind of where the story is at, and having Bolas back as being like the calculating enemy is fairly intriguing. But I believe that's everything that we have for the community segment. Before we head into competitive, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Comic Town. They are going to be holding, of course, Amonkhet pre-releases, so hopefully everyone is excited to play some Amonkhet Sealed a week before it actually hits store shelves. The pre-releases will be held on April 22nd and 23rd, including a midnight, at 12:01 a.m.
Which I may be judging.
Oof.
So
And then
come on out.
there's actually going to be a Two-Headed Giant flight on Saturday. And then, also coming up at the end of the month is the Comic Town Standard Classic that's going to be on April 29th. And then the next day is going to be a Modern IQ. Now, the Classic is going to be a 2K event. It's going to have a 4 times Planeswalker points multiplier. And, definitely helps you get queued or gets you queued for the end of the year tournament that they're going to be having. Also to note, this is going to be the last 2 tournaments they run at their current location because they are moving to a brand new, bigger facility in a better part of Columbus that has more access to like food and stuff like that, which is pretty sweet. So better for like the player that wants to grab a bite before their next round or something like that at F&M, and also good for people who like comics because they have more space for comics as well as more space for gaming. So this is a pretty exciting thing. So we're pretty jazzed about it. And you can actually go on to Comic Town Gaming Center from Facebook and check out their new address and kind of scope out the location if you are local to the Columbus area.
Or worldofcomictown.net.
Worldofcomictown. It's worldofcomictown.com.
Did I say .net?
Yeah, because it used to be comictown.net.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
I'm very sorry.
You just mixed the two. That's fine.
Yeah. All right, competitive.
So, question of the week. No.
We had GP Mexico City. It was a team limited event, and not shocking, a very illustrious team won. It consisted of Eric Froelich, Ben Stark, and Andrew Cuneo. And they took down another powerhouse of a team of Matt Nass, Sam Party, and Jacob Wilson. So completely, I would say not shocking. 2 teams with Hall of Famers / Platinum Pros / just all around good Magic players. I don't necessarily know their whole pro club rankings of everyone on this team or who's in the pro tour, except for I know Froelich is and Ben Stark is, right?
Probably the biggest surprise was that Peach Garden Oath finished somewhere in the 20s, I think.
Wow.
So
A little bit off there.
little off week for them, but this just continues the trend of just really good teams doing well at team events. I know we kind of say that all the time, but these ones,
if you ever worried about like skill, like these team events, like just go look at the top. There was a top 24 it pays out to. Like just look at the team names in the lists and just like the consistency these teams put up. You give them a limited format to work as teams with their CO pools, and you don't get a lot of unknowns in these top fours very often.
No, not at all.
I think even the other two teams in the top four were not pushovers. You had a Japanese team of Kazuyuki Takamura, Shota Takao, and Toru Inio. And then the other team of John Stern, Greg O'Green. I butchered that name, I'm sure. And Stephen Neal, who has a Pro Tour top 8. So
awesome.
I mean, yeah. So none of these teams were really pushovers, but
cool. Anything more about GP Mexico City?
Yes. Shout out to the team of Wallerstein and McCamish, and I actually don't know if I know their third, but I apologize if I do, and you're upset that I know you and I don't have the name pulled in front of me.
Our bad.
They just missed out on cashing. They day two'd. We're having a good run. They beat a couple of pretty impressive teams. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. So Wally's one of the guys that I did some testing with and went to the PT in Spain with.
Yeah.
A good guy from Northeast Ohio, and Ryan McCamish is another good player from Northeast Ohio.
A hilarious human being.
Also true.
Just like a bundle of comedy. So if you will ever see him in a local tournament, just like give him a talk, say hello, because he's just a fun time for everyone. So, all right, let's move on. So, moving from Team Limited to another one of our favorite things to talk about on the show, Legacy. Everyone loves Legacy here. We're practically all Legacy experts.
Nope. Hunter, I can do this. I have not looked at the Legacy deck list. Miracles won this tournament.
Correct. Accurate.
See, I do know that format.
So this is Star City Games Worcester. And
I want you to know that wasn't a joke. I actually hadn't looked. So
I fully believe you.
But
it was won by Eli Cassis.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yep, playing Miracles. Immediately after winning with Miracles, says top should be banned in Legacy. He defeated Nate Barton playing Grixis Delver. And we also had some other notable names. We had Jonathan Morowski, who's a Star City Games grinder playing Reanimator. We had Andrew Jessup playing Elves. So shout out to Team Metagame for showing up.
Mono Red Sneak Attack.
Oh, no, we're gonna get to that.
Oh boy! I just looked at this list. Oh god.
That pretty much rounds out the notable names. So let's try to go into sort of the more unknowns. We had the more unknown ones. We had Nathaniel Red, which is like perfect name, deck choice, synergy, by the way.
Playing Mono Nathaniel Sneak Attack.
Mono Red Sneak Attack. And I got to watch this deck play out. It had some pretty nasty games. I would like to say playing Godo Bandit Warlord, which is great. Thumbs up.
It's like a Super Stone Forge.
Yeah. And this deck was had a bunch of like hate pieces. We see Chalice of the Void, we see Blood Moon. So this deck is trying to like figure out some of the more unfair ways to lock the opponent out of the game and then proceed to win with either sneaking in a big guy or breaching a big guy.
Yeah, I always like to ooh and ah over these decks, but I would never in a million years play any.
I would totally play this deck.
There's a Sandstone Needle in this deck.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just haven't seen a depletion counter land in so long. I guess it just turns into a mountain when you have Blood Moon, so...
There you go. Gets you 2 red mana. All you need is that in like a pedal, and you're just like, Blood Moon, turn 1, go.
No, it comes into play tapped.
Oh, dang. So... All right, well, Blood Moon, turn 2, I guess.
You could Blood Moon on turn 1, though, with...
he has multiple ways to do it.
Any
for
number
sure.
of ways, yeah. Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal.
I just don't... He has an obsession with, like, 2 ofs. 2 Inferno Titan, 2 World Spine Worm, 2 Emrakul, 2 Godos, sideboard, 2 Ingot Chewers, 2 Magus of the Moon, 2 Sulfur Elementals.
Well,
he likes.
You see, Mike, you can't like. if you just have 4 Emrakuls, you can only sneak attack one at a time. But if you have an Emrakul and a World Spy Worm, you can put one of each into play.
Oh yeah, there are multiple times when he just snuck in.
You really need
a
to
bunch
do that.
of creatures. You would not want him guarding a backstage of any kind of persuasion.
How do you sneak all these things in? That's what I need to understand. Like Emrakul, shh, come on,
be very quiet?
Elmer Fudd is sneaking them in now.
Yeah, yeah. Why not?
He doesn't strike me as like the sneakiest guy, you know?
But he's telling you to be quiet because you're hunting
he's
rabbits.
good at doing that, I guess.
You got to be sneaky.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's like a sweet though.
Yeah.
A Godo is like so you Godo so you could get a Batter Skull.
Correct.
It puts it into play, right?
I guess like when it attacks you. I mean, it says on tap all Samurai, and I don't think any of these other creatures are Samurai.
No, but what you can do is you still get a second combat phase, and now you gain life from Grizzlebrand, so you can draw 7 and sneak another thing in.
Okay.
Yeah,
that is sweet.
synergy. But yeah, I think this deck is really cool. But I'm a red mage at heart, so.
This isn't really like a red deck.
Oh no, it's just, but it's legacy.
I
so
mean,
like,
I understand.
Like,
I understand it's technically mono red, but
yes,
yeah,
they're all red cards, man.
this isn't your
Except for like a lot of the creatures.
Grandpa's red deck.
We also had another interesting deck, being a blue-green Eldrazi Post. So this is a Cloud Post, Glimmer Post deck.
We got the whole band.
Yeah,
Emrakul, Kozilek, and one Ulamog.
This has 4 show and tells, and the most common thing you're showing telling is a Primeval Titan.
yeah, I guess. Sure,
All right.
whatever, man.
Too bad you can't show and tell this Ugin.
Oh no Planeswalker on that.
I do love crop rotation though.
Yep, that's a real good one. You see most post lists obviously running that card. Very, very important.
I'm just saying I'm a fan of that card.
Yeah. And you kind of you take a look at this list and you're like, well, you have a bunch of you do have some duels, which is unfortunate, but you got those Candelabra Thanos, man. Don't look at that. Don't look at that price point. Woo.
What are they up to now?
$500.
Wow.
Is that down from where it was, or is that up?
I don't think so. They have 3 in stock though. You could buy some MP ones for 400. So you can save yourself.
$100.
Yeah.
Cool Benjamin. Cool Franklin. I mean, Legacy is not really our strong suit. We do want to give a shout out to Andrew just playing Elves. Elves seemed like it was a pretty good position deck for the tournament. It hasn't been seeing a whole lot of play in Legacy from what I understood from the commentary that I watched. So it seemed like a good time for it to show up and have a person do well with it. He went 12-0 throughout the tournament, as far as I know. So he was pretty much locked. Starting after round 12, starting at round 13.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and just got to play the rest of his matches to help try to get his fellow teammates in, as from what I understood.
It looks like so. Dan Jessup took 27th, and Jim Davis took 24th. So.
Yeah, he was trying to work to get those guys in as best as he could from his position. So.
Right.
Now, going back to the winner, Eli Cassis. I don't think he normally plays Miracles.
No,
I think he normally plays like Blue Red Delver. And
yeah,
stuff like that.
he said that he switched into it late game. Basically, he kind of decided to play it over what he typically plays, and I think that kind of influenced his decision to be like, "Oh, Bantop, please."
Yeah, he just picked up the deck and went with it.
Yeah,
I like the predicts. I like that version. I know Min, who we've had on the show before, local Legacy guy, really likes that card. Predicts the card. Now, granted, I wasn't playing in Miracles. I played it with like Bamboozle in 60 card casual back in the middle school days, but still like
now. It is unfortunate that there is now video evidence of Elicacy's getting his predict wrong after topping, which is unfortunate.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awkward.
He did not
That's
remember
funny.
what he put on the top of his deck, sadly, and definitely got it wrong. Awkward.
Oh wow! Did he have So he's known to play with like really sweet, unique cards, like miscuts and like weird foils and stuff like that.
I know that
Did
he
have
had
anything like that?
Guru basics,
Okay.
but I don't know how much of the deck he actually owns as compared to how much was potentially borrowed. So it didn't seem like he had too many things that were out there, but
Okay, yeah, he's been known to have like miscut
they
dual
commented,
lands.
yeah,
and,
they
like, stuff
commented
like
on
that.
that throughout the matches that we saw him. So
Yep.
we want to talk about Food Chain here for a minute?
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like this deck got like a lot of hype coming into this
Food
tournament.
Chain's
didn't it?
almost a $50 card now.
Yeah.
A card from Arcadian Mask that isn't Rich Port is almost $50, guys. We did it. I think on Mask was expensive.
What exactly
too,
did we do?
I'm just saying that I just
Yeah.
didn't think anything from that block would ever really gain value outside of Port. So
Yeah.
good job. Now, granted, it's not Nemesis or Prophecy. But anyways, I want to talk about this one because it has 4 Walking Ballistas.
Yeah, that's the new hotness.
Like is that just like the win condition then too?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, you make a lot of mana. You got to put it somewhere, right?
Oh yeah, because you can just go infinite. You go infinite to cast creatures, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So yeah, because like you get 4? You get 5 mana.
So you missed Hollow Griffin,
Yes.
and then you can keep looping them. And you gain a mana to cast a creature every time, right?
Yes. And then you just cast Walking Ballista.
Yeah.
So seems like a pretty spicy way to go.
So Mike, Walking Ballista scene play.
Yeah, I understand. I ate a hat. We took
in
pictures.
literally every format, vintage.
You're not wrong. I
Like-
said I was very wrong with that card. Hey, you know what else he's played in every single format? Little Jace there, bud. So every format, I tell you, every format. We've all done it.
Seen play, but that's not.
I've played
actively
Jace in
seen
Legacy,
play.
so
But yeah. We'll yeah, I don't know. I still have to make a bold claim about a card and have it fall through. I'm sure it's happened before, but we just can't remember it. But one day it'll happen. One day I'll get a card really, really wrong. And
I wait that day.
and we can always remember how wrong I was. I'm wrong about a lot of other things though too, so it feels like it feels like I've already had my time. Anything else from this lovely Legacy Open that you guys wanted to talk about? I actually watched a little bit of it. And I thought the coverage was pretty all right.
I mean, watching SCGs just for the coverage is like always refreshing.
Yeah, and
Not as
I
many
will
commercials.
never play Legacy. Legacy does not entertain me. I'd be very bad at it. There's a lot of not to say that I'm good at any other format, but I would be particularly bad at Legacy.
Burn?
Yeah, sure. I could probably. I couldn't even play that well.
No.
let's be
I was
real.
saying like you burned yourself. I was talking about the deck. Burn.
Oh no,
I'm
fair
sorry.
enough. Yeah, no, you're correct. But
I was like, burn. I guess like
it is entertaining to watch when Miracles isn't on.
yeah, that deck is just miserable to watch. Like it's a very good deck. Like as a deck, like that deck appeals to me. Like I appreciate what it's doing, and it may be like the last true control deck, to be quite honest. But I long for the days of like Legacy where you had like American control before we called it Chess Guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like Miracles, just like it does. I mean, it's the best of what it does. Don't get me wrong. It does. It's the Wolverine of Legacy decks, and but it. I don't know. It is not fun to watch.
Yeah.
Someone spin a top over
Over and over
again.
and over
And
again.
then they board in Carpet of Flowers, and then they can just spin their tops forever.
Always be spinning. So let's talk about the Modern Classic.
I wanted to mention something
sorry.
about that. No. Going to the Modern Classic. So one thing I did look at, because I really look at deck lists, but I wanted to see numbers because this is, they've made the change so that there wasn't a Standard Classic, there was a Legacy Classic.
Yeah.
And the Open, to its credit, was pretty large. It was like 700 and some people for Legacy. But the Classics were interesting. So the idea was that you make the Classic the format of the Open specifically so that people have a deck. You had about 150 people in the Legacy Classic and 350 people in the Modern Classic. So I think that's kind of interesting that even when Legacy is people are going to support Legacy, then they turn around and play Modern as opposed to playing more Legacy.
No, I'm sure there were a lot of people that showed up just to play in the Modern Classic.
Yeah.
Sure, but I mean looking at those numbers, you know what I mean? Like that's still a huge pool. I just think it was interesting. Like I don't know what else to take from that other than it's interesting. But
Yeah. I think you probably you had I think they said 72 people were for day 2 of the Legacy Open. You had 700 something show for day 1, and then you had half of them continue, a little bit over than half of them continue to play Magic the next day.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you had a lot of people too that played in the Legacy Open that just borrowed a whole deck.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And then they're like, you know what? I don't really play Legacy. I just wanted to play in the Open, but I own my Modern deck, so I'm going to go
just
do
gonna
that since
play
I did
Modern.
day 2. Yeah, I'm sure that was a lot of people's situation in that, and that certainly would have been my situation if I were playing and didn't day 2. So
right. All right. So the whole thing was won by Scapeshift, and it's just red green Scapeship, piloted by Corey Gorman, and it is a little bit different. We do see that they got a little bit of a black splash in this particular list. Have a blood crypt main, and then you have 4 fatal push in the main as well.
Some summoners backs.
Prismatic Omen.
Yeah, it is a prismatic omen.
And Prismatic Omen is obviously there. That does help out a bit for sure. But this is kind of an interesting shift. See what shift?
And Collective Brutality on the board.
Yeah,
that card is pretty good when you need to interact, because Scapeshift does not really interact.
No, and like that is, I think this is showing how this deck can adapt potentially for a meta game that has Death Shadow running around.
Yeah, you look at this. Like, Scapeshift has been a lightning bolt deck since forever.
Yeah,
there are no lightning bolts here.
No,
just fatal pushes.
And I don't think that is the incorrect call.
No, I agree, but like, man, what a weird shift.
It certainly is. But I own the shift deck, and I think this is a pretty interesting change, and I could be fairly correct depending on what you're for an open meta, like a classic or an open or a GP would be. I think you could just run this and you'd probably be all right. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool, in all honesty. So that's kind of sweet to see. It did defeat a Grixis Death Shadow deck in the finals, which does say normally I was pretty shocked to see that, in all honesty, when you just see the titles of the decks.
I'm not that shocked. Traditionally, so the Death Shadow decks run a lot of the 1-mana discard.
Yeah.
And the Scapeshift decks, or like the Primeval Titan decks, are the best decks at top decking.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you have Summoners packs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you have a lot of outs. So like, as long as
I've just been unfortunate on that other end, where it's just like I've drawn like a million lands, and you're like, I know I play a lot of these, I understand this.
Well, I mean, I think if you're running the fatal pushes, that goes a long way into keeping you alive.
Yes,
you can actually
very
hit a
much
Death
so.
Shadow, and then you just amass some lands in play, and then your escapes just
Interestingly,
alive.
Enough. You take a look at the Grixis version of the deck, though, and Fatal Push isn't necessarily as good. You have threats like Tassiger, and you have Gurmag Angler as potential ways to win the game.
But this is also, I would say, slower.
Sure, you're not as explosive as a Jund version of the deck would be, for sure. But I mean, and when we actually take a look at the rest of even the top 16, I want to double check, but even the top 16, we have no Jund Death Shadow in the Grixis.
No other Death Shadow.
Yeah, the Grixis deck is the only Death Shadow deck that we actually have top 16. So,
but we have 2 copies of Fairies.
Yeah. I mean, like, when we take a look at this Fairies deck, I mean, we're going to see 4 Fatal Push. Like, the card's just good. And you even have a card of like being able to play 3 Liliana of the Veil, which is another card that can be very good against Death Shadow. When that deck doesn't necessarily play a lot of threats one after another or something like that. So and can definitely grind as well with the Shadow list and have hard to block threats unless you have access to something like Lingering Souls or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at thinking how good like a Bitter Blossom is against like Death Shadow is like, bleh.
Yeah.
If they're not running like Team or Battle Rage, then it could be hard to fight through that. Even a card like Spellstarter Sprite is like awesome against Death Shadow because there's so many 1-cost
things.
Things like you don't even need any other fairies in play. It's just like a naked Spellstarter Sprite's going to counter like half the things in Death Shadow.
Mm-hmm. And see, there you go. We've shifted the format so much that fairies could be good.
What have we done? How about this mono black?
Yeah, we have to talk about that deck.
Oh, for sure. So
Amonkhet's not even out yet.
Nick Vallis playing mono black zombies.
And the first card is a vampire.
is
The
blood
first card on
gas.
the creatures.
Is vampire spirit. So, but it does come back time and time again.
An honorary zombie.
Honorary zombie.
It's like zombie for a day.
I mean, it gets played in Dredge too, so yeah, definitely honorary zombie. We have Crypt Breaker making its first modern premiere, as far as I know, at least modern top 8 premiere from what I know. We also have Gifted Aetherborn,
Also a vampire?
also not a zombie. We're borderline here on vampire versus zombie as far as that goes. So there's a lot more zombies to make
And
up for.
Cletus, he's also not a zombie.
I just like
But
He's also a
makes
vampire.
Zombies, he makes zombies though, right?
Yeah, he's like the emissary between the two tribes, right?
there's 4 Relentless Dead in this deck.
You gotta-
They haven't even made an impact in Standard at all. There's a Zombies that can Standard doesn't play for any Relentless Dead, but this modern one.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh look, 4 Fatal Push.
Surprising.
Oh, you don't say.
Four Fatal Push, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Collective
What?
Brutality.
Sideboard 2 Lash Writhe.
Yeah,
What in the world is that for?
I don't know, man. Because you can. Because why not?
It's like a Heart of Kieran kind of.
No.
No, I don't know.
It's certainly not.
No.
But see, you have Urborg, so you make all your other altogether land swamps, and then your Lash Wraith gets
You're
bigger.
only playing 7 things that aren't swamps anyways.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. I like the Phyrexian Obliterators though.
Yeah, that card is scary because it still dies as Fatal Push, right? Because it's only 4.
Yeah.
So there you
Awesome.
go.
Hey, shut up.
But that's a lot scarier in a like lightning bolt format.
Yeah.
You also have damnation. You can actually afford.
This is the spookiest deck.
it's very spooky.
It's 4 Ghost Quarters.
It's
Like
very
it's spooky.
You would call the mystery machine to figure this out.
It's got to do some busting to this deck. I don't know.
No, there's no. Well, okay, you could get the 4 blood gas. They're spirits, but that's about it.
And they're in the Ghost Quarter.
You got me there. But that's in the sideboard.
Ghost Quarter. Da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, so mutabolts are technically spirits.
There you go. Please don't sue us.
Anyway, yeah, this is something you can do in modern.
No, Mutavault is where they all come together to meet, right? It's like
Sure.
you're probably wondering why I've welcomed you here to the Mutavault. Spirits, vampires, zombies,
We're all band together, and we'll have a monster mash.
Aetherborn.
Is it a graveyard smash?
Definitely some great graveyard synergies going on here.
All right.
You're welcome,
So
everyone.
I don't. Yeah. I would say if you see this list, it's pretty cool, but maybe don't try this at home.
No, go for it.
not
I
the-
fully encourage all of this.
It's not for the faint of heart.
yeah,
I don't know.
it's probably for no hearts,
I
or at least
get
no
it.
functioning hearts.
I get it.
We also have Green White Tron and Green Red Tron showing up again as being, some of the over top powerful decks that you could be, playing in the format. So,
Any spice in those lists?
you know what? I didn't actually look at them, and I probably should have just to kind of see. Yes, one of them has a Ghostlit Nurture in it.
What? What is going on in this tournament?
I don't know, man. This is like a dare. All the tournaments, all these decks were
So
dares.
everyone
Ghostlit Nourisher?
Everyone had a gentleman's agreement.
I don't know if this
that
is,
can't be real.
I
That's not
don't know
real.
if this is real or not. Obviously, sometimes Star
Maybe
City
it-
Games they
Maybe that's Ghost Quarter.
yeah,
It's probably supposed to be
It
Ghost
has to be right.
Yeah, that's got to be Ghost Quarter.
Probably.
It's like
Probably.
Ghostlit Nourisher. I had to look that up. I didn't even know what that was.
It has to be.
So it is a spirit, though, so it's, I guess keeping with the theme.
There you go. Spooky. It was just a
sometimes
spooky
you really
classic.
want Coil Engine to do 4 more damage.
Oh man.
Hey, I want to go back to your comment about hearts. Drawf's Messenger has a mechanical heart. It's right there in his chest.
Oh, fair enough.
It's a little bar of energy like Mega Man has in his arm.
Fair enough. You got me there. So no, I don't see anything because we obviously know the Ghostlit Nourishers. That's not a real thing.
Nah, it is. I'm going to pretend like it is.
That was good in that respective limited format.
I wasn't playing around that.
I mean,
unfortunately,
It's a combat trick and an onboard trick.
Also,
But
can't be countered.
Not at the same time, though.
So
not at the same time. And the green red list looks like a very green red Tron list.
Yep.
So, I do have to say the Green White Tron list was playing a Eidolon of Rhetoric, so we do see some potential Storm hate showing up. So
Which is good. There were 2 copies of Gift Storm in the top 16.
there certainly were. And that's become a very popular deck. I know that Newmont has been streaming it a little bit. I know he's moved on to like
Ban Baral.
too strong. I know he's moved on to Tezzeret Thopters as of late, but yeah, again, Storm is kind of the deck that keeps on kicking. Can't keep a good Storm deck down. But I think that's probably it for Modern.
You don't want to talk about Hardened Scales Affinity?
I mean, that's nothing new around here.
It has
in all
Rite of
honesty.
Passage in it.
Yeah, that was the thing.
You can go infinite.
Yeah, with Walking Ballista.
Yep, you certainly can. And then we have the Legacy Classic, which is won by Sam Miller playing Death and Taxes, defeating Shardless Sultai in the finals, piloted by Grant Fishman. Too bad he wasn't playing Merfolk, right? It's just unfortunate with a name like Fishman.
It has to be good.
That's like the guy with the last
that's
name.
Smucker's,
The
my
guy with
bad.
the last name Red can only play mono red decks, and if your last name is Fishman, you're supposed to only play Merfolk. But
Yeah, I mean, just come on, Synergy, man.
yeah,
Synergy.
maybe like his dad was a Merfolk player. He's just like, no, Dad, I'm gonna walk my own path.
I used to see Bryant Cook playing Storm. I know Bryant Cook is one of the Storm aficionados. I think he made the Epic Storm or something like that. I don't know. So good for him.
His versions are typically a lot different than the normal versions, though. Now that I look at his list, it doesn't look that much different. Anyway.
All right. But that it was our tournaments over the weekend. Not a whole lot that we're truly experts at, but hey, sometimes that just happens.
Hey, we tried. We had fun.
So before we go into the next section of the show, we do want to give a quick shout out to BCW Supplies, our wonderful sponsor. You can check them out at bcwsupplies.com or on Facebook under BCW Supplies. And they have a whole litany of deck boxes, sleeves, what have you, storage even as well for people who are like me and have their Magic cards just everywhere, much to my wife's chagrin. We are currently running a contest to give away some BCW supplies. So if you haven't checked our Twitter in a while, please do. We have a pinned tweet on there, so you need to follow us and retweet that tweet to get entered into our giveaway. And we're giving away a Deck Locker LX as well as an 80 pack of the double matte sleeves. And we do have a few colors of both the sleeves and the deck box that you'll be able to choose from. So please get on that. And that contest is going to be ending 2 weeks from now.
These are the 19th.
19th, no. So a week from today. So we launched it last week, and it'll be ending a week from today. So definitely get on that and get entered into it. And we will do a drawing on the actual 20th, get in contact with the winner, and then announce it next week's show, the week after that show. So, but yeah, so get entered. Please. We want to give you stuff.
Get equipped with?
Yeah, get equipped with BCW supplies. All right. So next week we have the Palooza. And so we wanted to kind of get ahead of ourselves and talk about some of the mechanics that we're going to be, talking about that are going to be on the cards, and kind of rank them. And this is going to be mainly focused on unconstructed.
We talked about the mechanics, so I think we wanted to rank them, like you said, for constructed. Mm-hmm. So not so much like delve into what they do. We now know what they do.
Yeah.
Now, what do we think of them?
Correct. And so, we have Embalm, Exert, Cycling, Aftermath, -1/-1 counters, and trials and cartouches.
You forgot Shady Aftermath.
That's not an actual mechanic.
They're the real number one.
So, where do we want to start? Do we start going
Let's
from
start with the bad ones,
Okay,
so we can talk less about them.
So trials and cartouches are the worst one. They're number 6.
Gideon was wearing a cartouche, though, in the storyline today. Nissa noticed.
Oh no!
Because he's running in the trials.
Well, good for him, I guess.
It felt like a movie where they say the title in it. It was like, and here's his cartouche. I was like, ooh, they said it.
So, So it's like Gideon's like, hey, do you have anything that resembles like the Olympics on this plane? And they're like, yeah, we do actually. He's like, I'm in it. I'll do that.
Actually, the best. Do you have anything really large and garish I could wear to let everyone know that I'm a tool now? Oh yeah, here's a cartouche.
A cartouche. Sweet, thank you. I appreciate this. These seem to be more of a limited mechanic more than anything, and they definitely have some strong interactions, and you could see some of them breaking into standard potentially.
Some feel really close, but they still feel sort of clunky, and like I feel like the cartouche is actually like the red cartouche maybe the closest to my mind, and like the trials are good. Like the trials feel really close, but like as a mechanic back and forth, like standard just doesn't seem to function. Doesn't generally function around like playing your aura so you can bounce your other enchantment. Like there's not a lot of time for that.
I will say that there's a chance we might see some of the trials in like a Sahili decks because they can get blinked. Yeah. But
like the Chambers Edicts one, the sacrifice one for black, like makes sense to me. And the blue one's not bad, but like it's hard to justify that over like Oath of Jace. You know what I mean? So it's close, but I feel like I agree, limited format.
The red one you brought up, the red cartouche, that's like Hammer Hand, right?
Yeah, plus one in haste.
Yeah, so something that has been standard playable before in like a red slide deck. So.
To be fair, it was also playable in a deck though that
had like heroic.
So
true, you got me there.
But
so 5 Aftermath.
Yeah, I spent a fair amount of time instead of Morgan sort of dumping on this earlier in the show, so I won't hammer too much, but. As far as like in limited, I feel like some of these could be pretty good because limited is the kind of format where later in the game you're actively looking for ways to spend your mana. You want to but in standard, like especially look at our current standard format. Like when are you gonna have time to cast these mediocre second spells? Like I said, like the red one. So what was it? Cut to pieces. Was that the one?
Cut to ribbons.
Cut to ribbons. It was close.
Is this your last resort?
I am suffocating, not breathing.
We can't do the rest.
But,
we have to bleep out the rest of it. We can't.
I mean, I don't. Anyways, but like outside of that, it just does feel like these are just super expensive, and like I don't know, maybe the red blue one we'll see some play, kind of like the tempo one that's like bad mana leak and tap some of your lands. But I don't know. Like this seems like such a downer when you think of like we just came off of like we were in Innistrad and we didn't get flashback, and then they're like, here's garbage flashback. You guys asked for flashback. We gave you garbage. Here you go. That's where we're at.
It's kind of flashback. There's a lot of kind of flashback in this set.
Yeah, that's just actually creature flashback is legitimate flashback. Like it's actual flashback. This is like like mirror universe flashback.
Mirror universe flashback. Woo. All right, yeah. What's number 4?
Number 4. We have Exert.
Yeah, see, I was exerting myself. I won't untap next turn.
You gonna take a nap?
A little sleepy.
A little sleepy.
May have actually pursed like a blood vessel.
Exert, I feel like it's almost there.
We saw Glory Chaser and went, okay, like this card's really good. Like it's awkward, obviously, with like Hardy Kieran and people sort of come down off of it a little bit, but like the idea is really solid. And then I think we've gotten a fair amount of like mediocre cards. We have the Red Mythic that is a 4/1. It gives you a second combat phase. So it's literally like what is the boar from Khans of Tarkir? I posted Craven Giant because like that's what like 4/1s for 3 in red are actual commons, and like you can exert it to get another combat step, but it doesn't have haste. It's just vanilla otherwise. You have Walking Ballista in the format, so like
I'm just really tired of like them being like, hey, you know what a Red Mythic should do? Give you more combat steps.
Yeah,
stop it.
None of them see play ever.
Yeah, stop it.
Like remember Aurelia? That's the last time that worked.
Yeah.
So
man, I played that card.
That card was sweet, but and then you have we have the green one that's like a weird like summoning trap kind of like show and tell.
It's a weird like Elvish Piper. Right?
Yeah, I guess that's it. But like otherwise, so you can exert it when it attacks and put a creature into play. But it's just a 3/3 vanilla, and we have our show chat, and Keller, who's been on the show before, I think he described it the best. It's like this is either like breaking the game, like Ulamog's in play, or it doesn't do anything. And like that's how a lot of these exert creatures seem to be. Like they're not interesting to me outside. Like they have a splashy effect, but they're probably not good enough for standard, and like they just don't get to do anything. So like Glory Chaser gave me high hopes, but I don't know what other exert cards are going to break through. Now we did we had a legend spoiled today.
Yes,
that maybe makes exert better. That has like 9,000 keywords.
It's on all of them. All of them.
Sumara or Sumat.
Yeah.
Somewhat voice of dissent.
Yeah. I do like the white weenie exert guy.
The 3/1 that becomes a 4/4 when it
Yeah,
attacks. Sure, and like that card is the one like everyone we're excited about always watching, and like that is the one that seems to play the best with always watching because you already wanted that card in that deck. I'll give you that one is good, and that's why I think we rank this one sort of in the middle. Like there's a couple cards that could break through and see play, but I think the bulk of them have like really like cool sounding effects written on the card, but actively won't do anything because like you cast them. They aren't good in combat. They don't survive pretty much anything, and you still have to untap with them. And again, standard that's pretty hard to do. So
yeah, and like not being able to untap your creature obviously is a pretty heavy downside.
It's a real downside. It's a real downside.
There's actively cards that have been made in Magic that say your opponents play against you and you don't get to do this. So it's like
that's like the difference between a dual land and like the crappy duels that were in Tempest. You know what I'm talking about? Like Thalakos, like Thalaktos lowlands or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, those like if you use them for like a color, like they don't untap. Like those cards, they were unplayable. It
was the Ice Age one. There was the depletion counters. If you used it for a color, you put depletion counter on it, and then you had to wait for it to get removed.
Yeah, those cards were unplayable. So
they were so flavorful. You depleted the land. You got to let it grow itself back up. Yeah, it was.
I'm just saying.
No, it was awful.
I'm just saying it's a real downside. All right, next we have Embalm.
Embalm
number 3.
is number 3.
Creature flashback.
Creature flashback,
essentially.
I mean, yeah, that's really what it is in all honesty. And there are a lot of creatures that have this effect, and being able to rebuy a creature is no joke. And they do have some downsides, some caveats. I mean, being tokens means that other things can kill them. But flashback is something that is popular, and I would imagine that this would have a very similar like positive effect for like player reception.
Now these, I haven't seen a ton that I'm super excited about for constructed. So I think like Exert and Embalm could easily flip flop if we're I think this is probably the one we had the
I actively wanted to push it like lower like down the list just because I feel like the cost is prohibitive on any of the creatures you do want it on. And don't get me wrong, there's some good ones. We have like a mini Angel of Serenity that also has it. We have the Legend that is kind of cool because it can, once it's a token, it can target itself and make itself unblockable, which is nifty.
Mm-hmm.
But
the clone.
Yeah, it's still a 4-mana clone. Like I don't know if that's ever playable in standard.
Yeah, probably not.
We had one that could become a Planeswalker, and it saw no play outside of a deck that wanted to play 16 Siege Rhinos. So I feel like Embalm like sounds cool, but I just don't know where it's going to see play. Like the one that seems the most playable is probably the Lifelink Cat, which is hilarious. Because Doom Traveler.
Yeah, I just really enjoy seeing the tokens that come along with them. So like the Sacred Cat, like you mentioned.
That one is actually hilarious.
Like the Embalm token is just like in the same exact pose and everything. It just has.
Yeah. Did you guys see the new Sphinx that was spoiled today?
The 5/3.
Yeah, the 5/3 that has the whenever this creature is targeted by a spell or ability, counter that for the first time. So it has what's that Merfolk card? It's not a Merfolk card.
It's like Great Glass Spinner.
Yeah.
It's I don't think that card's playable.
No, but I think like that's an interesting thing.
Isn't it a long cost like 9,643?
Yeah, probably.
And 2 blue,
probably something like that. So. Just an infinite symbol. You need to have a Diamond Mox.
You need to have like a Glee Mox.
Yeah.
Mox Lotus.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I think our second one is maybe a surprise. Like this feels like the Cinderella story of these like -1/-1 counters, and you might go, "That's not a mechanic." Well, it was in the mechanics article, so
yeah. So we put it on here. It's something that's clearly heavily emphasized within the spoiler. Not in the spoiler, but in the set. Yeah, we see a lot of cards that have it on it, and we haven't seen -1/-1 counters really since New Phyrexia or that block Scars block, right? We haven't had anything that really truly emphasized them.
Yeah,
right.
So because they don't typically like doing +1/+1 and -1/-1 counters within the same block. So this is the first time we've had it in a while, and I think people might have forgotten about it, much like Dre might have forgotten.
I told you Aftermath shady.
Yeah, is that a shady Aftermath?
That's number one, man.
But there are a lot of interesting like synergies that have existed with like previous formats. Like Snake is a hilarious one because He just kills everything. It just like kills all of your own stuff, which is really awkward.
I think we want to look at like Nest of Scarabs as a card that could literally like seems like it's really close to just being very good.
Yeah.
Right. So and like we've had a couple removal spells already that are kind of close. I think we could get one good removal spell that's really focused on -1/-1 counters. I think you'd be surprised to see how good it could be.
Yeah, and I think people just you can't discount the fact that even if like you're just putting 1 or 2 on something and it doesn't kill it, like it just makes creatures so ineffective.
That goes back to the red guy that we were talking about, the 1/2 with prowess, like that they spoil. I'm trying to remember the name of it. And I have the
Soul Scar Mage.
Thank you. Like that card is incredibly important because now you can play things like Galvanic Bombardment in your aggressive red deck and win combat. Like you don't have to 2-for-1 to kill a big creature. You can go, okay, before damage, deal 2 or 3 to this. It gets 3 -1/-1 counters, and now actively my creature wins in combat.
Yeah,
and that difference, I mean, that's the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah.
So.
And, that card specifically has very interesting synergies with things like Kozilek's Return.
Which is hilarious.
Is very, very funny.
And again, it has prowess, so it survives.
It lives. But we see some interesting cards that are in the set that put -1/- counters on creatures you control. So it kind of expands deck building on how you combat that downside. And there's ways to do it within the format if you look hard enough. So I think that this is going to be a very something that if we see cards that are truly pushed forward is something that we will definitely see within the format pretty consistently in standard.
So we only have one left.
Yeah, and
I wonder what it is.
Was the easiest one to call. Like it was like, what's number 1? Is like 1, and then like everything else was super way down below it, which is cycling. I mean, it's drawing a card, man.
Like basically, if you put 1 mana cycling on almost anything, you'll play it.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of conversations in our local like Facebook feeds and like social media where it's like, will this card be playable without the sensor, right? Like, what's the force spike with cycling? Would it be playable without cycling? No, but it has cycling. Like, do you understand?
Yes.
Like, it has cycling.
So the upside of like turning a dead card in your hand into something that is
shiny and new.
Yeah, that is literally anything else is.
And getting a 2/2 Drake for it.
Yes, as long as you pay for it.
I'll pay the mana.
Oh, okay, just making sure. Is super versatile. Is very. It cannot be underrated in all honesty. And I've never played in a format that actively had like cycling within its standard what have you. Of course, I played against Living End. I know what cycling does and everything like that. But
well, I mean. Living End's a good example of like how good cycling is. Like you just play a bunch of like crappy creatures, but because they have cycling, you can make this deck work.
Right. So it's super important. It's a fan favorite. There's no way this isn't sort of the best thing to come out of mechanic to come out of the set. This is a tentative list. Again, we don't have the full spoiler, but
no, but it's definitive.
And, unchanging. This is the truth.
So it shall be. Forever and ever.
But this is again just how we feel currently, and then maybe we can look back and revise it maybe towards the sunset show of Amonkhet if we remember
which sunset.
The second one.
I have to do the second one, right?
Yeah, the second one.
Get it? Because Amonkhet has 2 sons. That's why I called it Tatooine earlier. See, that's why the jokes happen. That's where it is.
That's where they are. That's where they live, man.
On Tatooine?
Yes.
That's sad.
I mean, it's fine.
I mean, Jabba's got a palace there.
As long as you're a moisture farmer, you're probably living pretty well.
As long as you're a moisture farmer.
Or a Jawa. Getting them droids, making that money.
Oh, man. Is that what they say? Get droids?
Yes, obtain droids. Obtain droids to get money. Correct. That is the phrase. That is the Jawa phrase.
You never knew it because of the me, but
yeah, that's how they do it. Anyway, that is it for the bulk of the show. Again, as a reminder, we are doing a Twitter contest, so please go to our Twitter account and check us out. You can do a search for Your End Step, and then we come up, and then you can add us, and it's at Your End Step because clever. And We have a pinned tweet on there. All you need to do is follow us and then retweet that tweet, and then you are entered into our giveaway. And then again, the giveaway because they're going to end on April the 19th. So over the weekend, we don't really have anything because there just isn't anything going on. For some people, it is a holiday weekend, so Wizards typically doesn't like to plan anything around large North American holiday weekends, particularly. So that's why there isn't really anything going on.
Thank you. Is your title like? Are you still a captain, or are you like a lieutenant now?
What are you talking about?
Obvious.
Oh, yeah. Oh, captain. So, we won't really have anything super good. It's pretty convenient for us, in all honesty, just for the sheer fact that we have the Palooza next weekend. So we won't have to worry about covering anything that really happens, unless there's some like drama that happens in the community that we need to speak on. It'll probably just be the Palooza. So before we let you go, we do want to let you know that we also have as well as our Twitter, we do have a Facebook page. You can go do a search on Facebook for at Your Instep when we show up. And while you're on there, you can take a look at BCW Supplies as well as Comic Con Gaming Center. You can search for both their names, and they've just come up as their pages. Give them a like, drop them a comment if you want. We also have an email address, at yourinstep@gmail.com. If you are looking where to download the show, which is kind of silly because you already have it, but we are on iTunes if you didn't know, and you can also leave us a review on iTunes. It really does help us out, get more visibility for the show. We are also on the Google Play Music Store. You can also leave reviews there as well. And lastly, we are on MTG Cast, which is a great place to go and find a huge amount of Magic the Gathering podcasts. Really anything that you are into about Magic, there's someone talking about it, and there's probably several people talking about it. So go there, find a new show that you like listening to as well. When we don't have a show out, that you've already listened to us. So when you need to find something else, go there. But pretty much that's everything for us for this week. We will definitely be back next week with our Palooza. Mike, are you excited about the Palooza?
Yes, moderately excited.
That's perfect. So we'll catch you guys next week, and you have a great one. Bye.